This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Coup de Gras from 1976, directed by Volker Schlondorff. What a name. The synopsis.
Is he Lithuanian?
The synopsis from Letterboxd.
Uh-huh.
A countess loves her brother's Prussian officer friend in the 1919 Baltic area. So that pretty well sums up the, how many people have seen this movie, how much attention or love this movie seems to get, because I had really never heard of this movie. It gets talked about nowhere, anywhere. It's part of the Criterion Collection. I had also really not known of director Volker Schlondorff until this year when we watched the very good Lost Honor of Katharina Blum, which he co-directed with one of this film's stars, actually.
Which star?
Marguerite von Toth.
They co-directed that?
Yes, that's his collaborator, and
cool.
she also wrote this film too, with some women folk, which has got to be a kind of a first in the Creeps, where we have two women writing a screenplay for this, because for the most part, it's a real sausage fest, the Criterion Collection.
Apart from maybe Agnes Varda.
Yes, who's heavily featured, but we're still a long ways until we get to Fat Girl. But in general, it's they're pretty underrepresented in the collection. But here we are with the Schlondorff all by himself directing this movie that starting it off, I did not know it was going to be black and white. I should have looked at the DVD cover, and I'd be like, oh, is that just a stylistic choice? It's like, nope. This movie, usually Criterion doesn't just choose black and white images for movies that are not black and white. But yeah, I went into this completely blind, and then I saw 1919 pop up on the screen, and I was like, oh, is this World War I stuff? Cool. But no, RJ, this isn't World War I. It's the Russian Civil War. Everyone's other favorite 1919 war going on at a time.
Well, yeah, because isn't 1919 was when it isn't that when World War I ended?
Yeah, it's when it wrapped up. So in this, we're at the end of 1919, and things were still kind of trucking along, because the Russian Civil War started in 1918. That's when Russia stepped back out of World War I. It's one of those I remember learning a lot about in social studies, and I just have not retained a lot. And there's not a ton of movies about it that get circulated in my watching. So I have to watch some movies instead of reading a book to learn all about it again. But that all being said, so this movie starts off with two men running across landscapes with this really unique score that I was oh, this is pretty good. This is a really neat sound. And they arrive at a chateau run by Countess Sophie, and all this information starts to come out that her brother, as a soldier, Conrad von Ravel, is that right? Yes, that is 100% correct.
Conrad D. Ravel?
Von Ravel? They're all Vons in this part of the world.
Some of them, I don't know, the letterbox is a little wonky. Some of them are Vons and some of them are Ds.
Okay, that's fine. Well,
I don't know what that means.
So they roll up, and it's just this is already starting to recall other black and white Russian tasting movies. This is a West German production, and it's kind of the Eastern Front from the German side, who are, I guess, probably trying to keep a lid on this Bolshevikism that's spreading wild. It's going like wildfire. Everyone's like, what's this Lenin all about? What's this communism? I like it. So these people, though, they're not having any of it. But you know what? The villagers, the poor people, they're digging it. And we find out kind of in offhand conversations, not heavy-handed dialogues, that Sophie is sympathetic and is in fact also kind of along with this. But they have to host, otherwise you just get shot in the back of the head. But she's also got eyes for the captain of this group, Erich von Lomond, a very tall, striking blonde man, very aristocratic, very Prussian soldierish, and she likes this guy, and she's like, oh, you're friends with my brother? And he's kind of like, yeah, I'm interested in you, but my relationships, they don't last very long. And then we hear all these stories of like, oh yeah, I heard that all the girls are really into you. And he's like, sure. And then just like there's just little bits of the story just kind of get given to us. The conflict gets closer and closer. We're introduced to this lovely dog named Texas. You're like, oh, Texas. What a good name for a dog. That's a very, like, you would think like a good European name, because like people probably think Texas. That sounds so magical. And seems like a good boy. And so things just kind of stroll along. The movie doesn't like have this like super like specific plot that it's going for. It's just like a series of scenes. You get introduced to the aunt of Sophie and like kind of the other soldiers. They're all kind of listless and bored, but at the same time, they're all like, you know, they hear the artillery fire coming closer and closer, and there's the injuries, and it's like not even necessarily like the injuries from combat, but it's the typhus, it's the disease that's coming. So we get these scenes with the doctor, who's every doctor you've ever seen in every movie, who's like kind of callous and seen it all, and just drinks too much to quell the misery all around him. And then, you know, we get this like people are going off to Riga or something like that, Riga, for some meeting to figure out the plan, what's going to happen next. Because as we all know, this I guess is Latvia. Latvia is having its own problems. You do a little bit of Wikipedia reading on your Russian Civil War, and you find out that there's like all these little states that start breaking up, and they have their own civil wars internally, and that's sort of like like a little bit here, but. Yeah, so what ends up happening is her brother, Conrad, we have this sweet little moment with like, oh, hey, everything's great. He's kind of down and she's down. Let's all hang out and be pals together since this Eric guy, he's not giving me any attention. And then Conrad's dead. He's killed off scene, off camera, found by the pond, and you're just like, oh, damn. People are being executed. Things get drearier. Sophie just like starts retaliating against the lack of attention that she thinks Eric owes her, and she starts banging the other soldiers and make like kind of drowning her sorrows because soon enough we got a dead dog. RJ, we get poor Texas. He's just being a dog digging up a truffle, but it turned out to be a grenade. It's very sad, and she's sad. And so she's a mess, which like you would be a sad person after this happened to you. And so you find out one thing gets slipped out from another soldier about Eric, that Eric is a man who prefers the company of men. Eric is a gay man, and in 1919, you know, there's certain pockets of urban centers where this was a thing that you could do, but when you're a soldier in the army, it's frowned upon. It's not good for morale. And so you got to put up that stiff upper lip and play it straight. And so this burns Sophie because she's just annoyed that this is like, he's been playing her and not just telling her this, which I guess like, is it any of her business? I don't know. It's up for debate. I guess if she keeps pushing on it, he wouldn't say, considering the context of things at the moment. Would she care? It's complicated, RJ.
In what way?
Well, I don't know. How do you cut it? How do you feel about this relationship, or do you want to save it when you talk about this movie?
I can save it.
Okay, so that I don't know how I feel about this element, because it's downplayed. Like, it's not like a driving force of the movie. It's not like Eric's not being vilified here. It's kind of presented as just what it is. It's kind of like yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So
but he's also like, he also is very annoyed at Sophie's behavior because she just starts making out with other soldiers. There's another guy that's like fetching, I guess, to her, and she's like really gives him some tongue under the mistletoe at Christmas, and Eric's pissed off and just like breaks this up, slaps her across the face. There could have been a duel, but it doesn't play out. And you're like, well, what's his motivation for that? Is it because she's carrying on and, I guess, quote, on debasing herself? And from his stature as a Prussian soldier, this is like more embarrassing to her that like a countess would be carrying on like this but he himself, I don't know. That's where it's complicated, I guess, because I don't think there's a judgment there. But but he is, but she's also like making her way into Bolshevikism. Like she's like kind of like wants to actually, that's her like real ambitions, I guess, is to live that way. And
he doesn't know that yet, though,
and he doesn't know that either. So yeah, they both have their secrets, and so yeah, and the movie just kind of goes from there, where eventually she takes off. She's like, she's had enough of this Eric shit and what he's doing and bombings, and she takes off to town and vanishes and joins the revolution. And then things kind of march toward the surprisingly grim, cold, dark conclusion, the Coup de Gras, and this amazing one-shot take involving trains at a train station. And I think this movie's quite good. It felt like a pick-me-up of late, because again, like going into it, didn't really know too much about it, and watching it, it's like a very solid drama. I would say that at the end of the day, I don't think I'd ever rewatch this movie, but I think it's very good, and I'm just surprised that no one ever talks about it. I don't know how I think I have talked about this before. Dramas like this, they get dropped out of the conversation over time, particularly West German ones by like kind of like, and I think people would probably maybe not argue that Volker Schlondorff is like on the lesser end of the German new wave spectrum. People just don't talk about his stuff because he's like, but his stuff's very competent. Like Lost Honor of Katharina Bloom, like I think is like a really good drama, but this one is like also very good, but just not as like, doesn't have that wow factor, just like Starbucks looks for in employees. It just doesn't have that element to it, but it's really well made. I enjoyed it. It kept my attention, and I think it's the type of movie that I think it should be. I'm glad that it is housed somewhere in a collection on DVD. Even I'm assuming this is still in print. It might not be. It's on the Criterion channel though, so that's a moot point. RJ, what did you think of this Coup de Gras?
The Coup de Gras? Well, I went into this pretty cold, and I realized you said last week that it was the director of Lost Honor, Katharina Bloom, but I forgot. And then I turned it on, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I wonder what else this guy's done. And then I saw it, and I made the connection myself, having not been told, because learning is stronger when you make those connections yourself, Jarrett.
Of course.
And I was like, whoa, no way. Because I enjoyed this quite a bit. And it's kind of like what you were saying. I don't know if it's coming in cold from one of the bottom 5 that we've ever watched.
Yes.
And it made this like feel that much better. But I think it is actually really good.
And Lost Honor of Katharina Bloom was also kind of like that too. Like we were on a real string of like indifference and like meh, okay, and then that came along. I was like, oh, this jumped out a lot, and this kind of felt the same way to me. No, exactly. And I think like, so when I was watching this, I think the first 30 minutes or so are really good. Like I was watching, I was like, holy fuck, this is really good. Them riding into the house and stable the horses, and it's just moving.
Yeah, and it just moves, and you get introduced to people, and then it just clicks along where none of it is like, it's exposition, but it doesn't ever come off like this is where the story is going and this is what's happened. You just kind of like watch what's going on. But I think you also get this really cool mix where I thought the people in this movie seemed like very real. Like the weird old aunt or whatever she is that they just like wheel around everywhere. When she gets introduced, and like the way she's acting, it doesn't really seem like she's acting. She just seems genuinely excited to see that guy.
Be part of the movie.
Just to be a part of things and like to be there. So I thought her character was awesome because I was like, she seems like a real person, and that's nice. But yeah, that first half hour, you get introduced to all these things, and you have the war going on, and it's just very subtly like the way it pops its head up, like the first couple times. I think it's really nice though when they have their like little ball or dance party, whatever, and then there's just like a mortar that goes off and it just blows in through the window. I was like, that's nice, that's cool, and then because they're like right on the line there, I guess, between like their military and rebels. So I like that. But yeah, I think the first like 30 minutes of this are really, really good. And then I think it kind of dips a little bit in the middle where it loses its steam a little bit. And none of it is bad. It's all entertaining. And you can like I watched through it all where I was like, I'm invested in this. But it did lose like a little bit of its sparkle, I guess, in that little point in the middle. And then yeah, the ending comes in, and then I think it kicks it up a lot where kind of like you said, it's unexpectedly cold, but it does fit with the story. So yes. To address, so I really liked it. I thought the first half of it was wicked, and then you get into some other stuff. So the stuff you were talking about earlier, it is a little bit kind of like how you were saying how you don't know what to feel about that. It throws you off a little bit because I didn't like see his reveal really coming until they start talking about like other guys, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I was like, all right, they're gonna go that. But like the whole time leading up, it just seemed like he wasn't into her. So it kind of like makes his behavior. It kind of makes sense of his behavior where he's not into her, but like he maybe kind of is. So then he gets jealous of her, and you're like, okay. But then when you realize that's not the case, it's kind of like what you were saying. Like, is it just that he doesn't like her being so outward? And like after I was like, I think that's what they're going for, I guess.
I think that's more about the class though. Like I think that's why I didn't think about it till we were talking about it, but talking out loud, I'm like, no, his stature is like, he feels like she's debasing the family name because he probably, whatever his relationship beyond sexually or whatever romantically was with her brother, I feel like maybe like she's doing a disservice to the family by behaving this way. Right. But she's only dealing with limited information, and he is withholding, but she's also withholding information in her own way, which doesn't directly impact him. So yeah, there's again, it's the drama, the dramaturgy.
It's a nice word you got there.
Yeah. When it gets into like, I don't know, but I assume like a movie like A Single Man gets into, or Far From Heaven.
I've never seen A Single Man. I don't think
I haven't either. It's what I imagine it kind of goes into though. Yeah. We're like, your mileage may vary on this type of story.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that was like, it's obviously, I think what this movie is about is the relationship between these people, but I don't know, I didn't really check into it that much. I was just kind of along for the ride where it's these people just kind of living and reacting with each other.
Well, yeah. And then I think because of the black and white and because of it's a war movie, but it's black and white. I was thinking of like The Cranes Are Flying, Ballad of a Soldier. But I also was thinking of Cross of Iron, the Sam Peckinpah movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's also Eastern Front, and it's also the German side, but it's World War II there, and here it's the Russian Civil War. But very kind of similar circumstance where there's like, it's a hopeless battle, and they're going to have to retreat.
Yeah.
And the movies came out really close to one another. Cross of Iron and this.
Cross of Iron?
And Coup de Gras. Yeah.
Do you think that Peckinpah like saw this and then stole it?
No. they're so different.
But like the aesthetic though?
Well, no, it's not that. It's just the era. There's something. I mean, at this point, you did have the West German, East German element, and I mean Volker. I mean, he actually is German, so there's that kind of ideological thing that I don't know enough about to know what he was maybe thinking about in that sense, because that's always on the outside. This is very much an internal story between the two at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But hey, one thing off of Wikipedia is this is based on a novel by Marguerite Yourcenar, same title, from 1939. And are seen from the point of view of the soldier Eric. So the novel itself is actually from Eric's perspective. However, the film conveys the story from the viewpoint of Sophie, played by Marguerite von Troda, who co-wrote the screenplay. By directing the story from a female perspective, the film offers an alternate view, distorting the typical features of the war genre, such as a male perspective, and portrays the story through clashes of emotions and environments of the time that Sophie von Ravel faces. The filmmakers felt that an audience in 1976 would more readily identify with the independence and resolve exhibited by Sophie than with Eric's repressed conservatism. So there's that. So that's the element of Eric's characters. Kind of like keep in mind, he's like very conservative, which also is why everything is like buttoned up and it has to be kept completely secret. And even though it's like he has these relationships with multiple men under his watch.
Yeah, I kind of like that they switched it to her perspective because I think it's like I said, I don't think it's the biggest surprise ever, but I didn't realize it until it's kind of spelled out for you, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I think it works better that way because it makes you buy into their chemistry more, where it's like, what's his deal? Is he playing like hard to get, or like is he mean or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like I like it better from her perspective than his, because then if it was his, I think you get her frustration of his guardedness. Yeah, and like I think her part of the story is more interesting anyways, because I don't know, she's got more to do with the story.
But they complement one another because you do get, because it kind of goes between both their perspectives. Yeah, to a degree, because by the end of the movie, like kind of the final act is when they're in retreat and you're seeing his men get picked off, and you see him charging the barn, because at that point you've lost track of her character, and now he's the viewpoint. For suspense, I guess, and when they actually take the barn and take them captured and do the interrogation and then the inevitable execution, which I think is like such a well done scene, because it's she's just like, I want you to do it, and he's like, yep. And he does, and
he's like, sure thing.
Oh, and it's so like the blocking of it, like when because it's from a distance, and you see him go up to her, and she turns her head before you hear the bullet, which is exactly how it would be from where you're standing. You would see her drop before you hear the gunshot, and then they all load up, take a picture, hey, and take their selfie, put it to Instagram, hop on the train, and then the camera's now on the train, and then we pass back the train station. You see the dead bodies, and it's like, yep.
Yeah, like that scene, that whole build up to that thing too is done really well. Like the way that he's like when they first see each other and interact a little bit, and then when it gets into it, and then that the whole little walk up with the shot, and then I found that scene's striking for like the obvious reason, but then I also found it really funny where right after he's like, all right, everyone get ready for the photo, all right, line up, and it happens, and life marches on, Jarrett.
Well, I mean, he's a cold fish. I mean, when he sees her brother, he's just like, oh, down by the pool, he's dead. Yep. But he no-sells it. Whatever emotional modes he's going through, he never plays it, except when he does blow his stack. When we see him peeping Tom on her, banging one of the dudes out at the shack, and he's like, what? And then later on, when she's making out under the mistletoe, he just comes and just smacks her right across the face, and that's like the angriest you really ever get him, I think.
Did you get a lot of like joy out of that scene?
Well, I thought of you. Yeah,
because I'm a big Christmas guy, right?
Speaking of which, were you on screen capture duty watching this? Did you get any?
I got like 4 or 5.
There's one in particular that jumped out at me. It's when the doctor is talking about what happened to Sophie, I believe, and I believe he opens it up by referring to it as a classic rape.
Oh, I did see that. I figured if you wanted a screenshot of that, you could get your own. I was going for the more classy stuff, like when people are farting and burping and falling over and stuff. puking in the hallways
and dead dogs in the pantry.
Yep. No, I did get quite a few screen caps because the other thing too is I think this movie looks really good.
Yeah.
Like everything looks awesome. It did remind me of Cranes Are Flying a little bit. Little bit. Like that one's a little bit more polished up.
That movie's extremely photographic though. Like I'm not sure what word you would call it, but like it's very cinematic. Like it looks incredible. Where this is like every shot is purposeful. Whereas I think Cranes Are Flying sometimes it's just like, hey, let's make this look incredible.
Look how good this looks.
Yeah. It's showier, which is fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I did get a few of the stuff that I liked, but no, I left that classic rape to you.
Yeah. Did you get? I don't know if you ever. Did you think of Phantom Thread at all watching this? Did you get like?
I didn't before, but I can see why you'd make that.
And it's just kind of the relationship between the two of them. Like it's very combative, but it's totally different. Yeah. Her,
I see what you mean.
Actually, there's actually elements too of her. Very similar to Lars von Trier female characters. Now that I'm kind of thinking about it,
like Bjork.
Yeah. Maybe not that specific movie, but her like kind of these doomed idealist women. But I don't think she's an idealist though. Like she seems like she's willing to die for. Like she's like completely prepared to die. Whereas I think Lars von Trier women, they're kind of part of it is like there's a delusion to them. So there is that difference, I guess. Because even maybe, like because once the information comes out about Eric, she's kind of like, oh well, fuck you, you're wasting my time. Yeah.
She well, I mean, she was reacting. She, I bet she probably felt a little hurt by it, and a little people put out, and she's like, why? Maybe she was just like, why didn't you just tell me, man? We would have saved ourselves a lot of trouble.
But yeah, this Marguerite von Trotta playing Sophie, she's quite good.
She was very good. She reminded me of the character known as Paris in the Gilmore Girls. You ever seen the Gilmore Girls, Jarrett?
Still haven't.
Oh, okay. I'll send you a pic. But yeah, she's very good.
Yeah, I'm just she wrote this, directs with Schlondorff and other movies, and acted in a few things. Yeah, no, she's very good. And then, is it Matthias Habich who plays Eric?
Matthias Habich?
Yeah. Fuck, he's in a lot of shit. Yeah, that's him. Oh, look at that. He's in Downfall.
What's Downfall?
The Hitler movie. In the bunker.
Oh, is that good?
That's you should totally watch that movie. It's very, I mean, I don't know if it holds up now. And like that, the meme of it might have... maybe diminished that movie. That movie's very good.
Is that the one with Mike Myers?
That would be Inglourious Bastards. I don't know.
Are those different movies?
Maybe.
Okay, I got a picture of Paris Geller from the Gilmore Girls. I'm going to send it your way, and just tell me that she doesn't look like the lead character of Coup de Gras.
Tell you that they don't look alike.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
What?
The haircut maybe, but then they don't look at all like, no.
Real fans out there, they'll know.
Hey RJ, you want to hear about people who hate this movie?
Does anyone?
There's like, again, this movie, like I think less than 500 people have watched this. That's that's way down there. It's been a while since I paid attention to that, but usually we've been in that like 1,000+ range, and this is down there. So we don't have a lot of rich comments here. So, but 2 stars from Red Bill.
Yeah, it looks like Red Bill.
2 stars. Tough to appreciate without any historical context. Well, that doesn't hurt RJ. Plus, no. I kept getting the 2 male leads confused. Really? I mean, they're both blonde, have similar haircuts.
They're pretty distinct.
They're pretty distinct. One's quite a bit taller and more of a Max von Sydow type.
Yeah.
Both of which are my fault, but it's my rating, so suck it.
Problematic, this review. Like, I don't know. So, like, it's a good point that he brought up. He doesn't understand the context, but I don't know that much about the Russian Civil War either. But it never bothered me.
I thought I was watching a World War I movie the whole time.
Yeah. So I don't really see what the problem is.
I got it. I mean, do you know about Russia? I mean, I guess if you don't know anything about Russia, it'd be kind of confusing. But I mean, they give you enough information. They don't spoon feed it. There's no like narrator telling you exactly what the story's about. It leaves you to your own conclusions, and it's really well told.
I think this thing could very easily be a fictional place with a fictional civil war,
which they kind of set it up as, like either across the cow or whatever. It's like they kind of said they leave it as like kind of like, oh yeah, it's a make believe little location where, but it captures like all these like things that are happening simultaneously. Yeah.
I don't think that changes things at all. So that's a little confusing. This dude only likes Criterion movies. He just 5 stars all the Criterions
except this one.
Except this one, and a half a star to Juliet of the Spirits.
Oh, that's just
seems a little unfair.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Russman, 2.5 stars. Don't mess with Texas. Texas is an awesome name for a dog. This is true.
Yeah, that was a really good name for a dog, as you pointed out earlier. I just noticed that last person, they also gave half a star to Jubilee, which is earned.
Yeah.
Earned. But you know what doesn't earn a half a star? Norbit with Eddie Murphy.
This is also from Red Bill?
No, I'm now into Russman.
Okay, no, Norbit's garbage, dude.
He's done. Russman gave It's Pat half a star. Do you remember It's Pat?
I do. I saw It's Pat many times.
I don't think that's a half star movie. Yeah, but you might be excited to know that Russman gave Fight Club 5 stars.
Nice.
And I don't know, all the usual junk. Toy Story 3,
Empire Strikes Back, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, all the usual. And then I don't know, nothing interesting here.
Finally, William Kretschmer.
Okay.
Kretschmer, 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
A bit too pedestrian. This is still one of Schlondorff's better works, although I'm not a fan of his. All of his movies, as far as I know, are literary adaptations. In this case, it was a Marguerite Yourcef's novel. That's it.
Is that correct? His information there?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. And he does literary adaptations.
Oh, I found
Yorkenauer.
William Kretschmer. Again, like all these people just all like the same stuff. Like Raging Bull, 5 stars. Godfather, 5 stars. It's the same. These are all the same people.
They're all on Reddit. They love Baby Driver. Mm-hmm. They're looking forward to Joker.
Like, and then most of these guys don't even have a whole lot of ratings, to be honest. So,
well, I mean, who's the audience for this movie? It's unfortunate that a lot of people don't watch it because this is actually a good one. It's actually good.
Ooh, I found a bad one from William Kretschmer. They gave Tentacles 1.5 star. Now the soundtrack alone in that movie is a 5-star affair. Oh, your friend of the show Corey gave Tentacles 2 stars. Oh, let's put Corey on blast for a while. Maybe not, but still, Tentacles is okay. It's got that huge sombrero in it.
RJ picks.
Yep.
No.
Yep. So those guys are boring. All the people who dislike this movie, but I'm with you. Who is this movie? Like who's gonna seek this thing out?
And that's sad. It's like, you know what? I can predict that not a lot of people are going to listen to this review because no one watches this movie other than our dedicated listeners and lovers of Criterion things that will scrape the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. They'll like somehow watch Jubilee before they'd watch this, which is just sad. But yeah, no, this is like a very solid drama. But it is kind of, at the end of the day, kind of just a drama. And there's like there's no big like, oh shit, guys, you got to watch it. That final scene's pretty good, but you have to watch the entire movie for that to pay off. It's just like, it's almost like it's just so solidly competent, but there's no like, it's not like that A+. It's kind of like this is an A minus.
Yeah, I think I liked it more than you did, to be honest. I think that first half hour is
I don't know,
awesome.
Yeah, no, like I really liked it. Like this is like a really pleasant surprise. But I think I mean, but so how would you compare this to Lost Song of Katharina Bloom? Not as good, right?
No, not as good. But that one also, like, even more than this, Katharina Bloom came out of fucking nowhere, and I was just like, whoa. But I think Coup de Gras is very good.
Yes,
it's very good, Jarrett. Very good. What do you think is better, Coup de Gras or Wild Strawberries?
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat.
Coup
Hey, Perry.
d'etat. I always think of goddamn Kevin Costner and JFK saying coup d'etat. And so when I read coup de gras, it's coup de gras.
Do you use the C? Were you a French immersion kid?
No, I'm a YouTube kid who looks up pronunciation sometimes.
I see. One of those, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, this movie's good, and it's
this is better than this is definitely better than Wild Strawberries.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it's too bad. People probably won't watch it.
Yep, it's a bummer. Hey, I'm looking forward to more Schlondorff.
We got one or two more coming up.
We definitely have the Tin Drum, which apparently is his best movie, and
allegedly.
I think there's one other for sure, and then I don't know after that.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there, pal.
Friendo.
After the break, we're going to mourn a dead dog.
I'm always mourning dead animals, Jarrett.
Mm-hmm. You have a weird thing going on in the backyard.
That's my business.
With your animal man.